Hello and welcome to my individual report for the video game Yok.AI for the final submission. I am Michele and I am the one and only programmer or engineer, as you prefer. In this video, we'll be explaining what I've implemented only since beta. So let's get started. To begin with, there is a new dialogue system, no more so an improved dialogue system, that has a new UI. Disclaimer, I did not design the UI. I just implemented the UI how it looks right now into Unity. So I was the one that moved all the game objects around. As you can see, it is much bigger, so that way there is more space for text and more clarity when reading. And it just looks nicer, especially with the new images. Then there was an improvement based on feedback from the previous playtests. That was that if you press A while the character is talking, it will just display the full sentence instead of skipping to the next sentence, like this. Unless the sentence is very short. Then I also added text images mainly to display the controls. As you can see here, there is the left stick. I did not make the images, I just implemented them into the game. If you want to see the code for pressing the button twice, it is mainly managed by this bool called writing. That makes it so when you display the next sentence, if it's not writing anything, it will start writing and set writing to true. And then since it calls the function when you press A, writing will be true while it is writing it, and will therefore just display the entire sentence. And on the coroutine that writes the actual sentence, once it's done, it will just turn the bold false. Then I also made it so a specific character could appear in both sides of the screen. I'm mainly talking about this black and white tanuki ball. As you can see here, it is on the right. But if I move to the next dialogue, she will be on the left. This is done in this function in the same dialog script. That will just check if the name of the speaker contains underscore right, telling it that it has to be on the right. And then we'll select the corresponding images for the character talking, and then we'll delete the underscore right, replacing it by nothing, so that it doesn't show Nezu underscore right in the actual dialogue. Then there is also a new option in the options menu for text speed. You can see here that the character is talking quite fast. You can actually also hear it. But if I lower the text speed to the minimum, you can see how they're talking much slower. This is just to let the player decide whether they want a fast talking speed or a slow talking speed. Then I also implemented all of the dialogue into Unity. I did not write it, I just copy pasted it from a script but the one who put the dialogue into the game was me. Here in every single one of these dialogue objects, like from here to here, I had to write the dialogue in this script in the editor. And that's it for dialogue, actually. Next. Oh, wait. Yeah. The text speed, it's important to also note that alongside the music options, which I'll talk about in a second, actually have to be saved in between play sessions. So it has this script here that is specific to the text. I will just save the script into the save data. Sorry, save the text speed value into the save data. And also the text speed. Yeah, the text speed is actually just set in the dialog manager script here in this function here. Okay, now for music options, I have 3 different options: master, music, and SFX. They're pretty self-explanatory. Master will just lower the volume of the entire scene. Everything talking, like every sound effect, music that is playing, etc. Then music volume will just lower the volume of the music, and the sound effects will still be there. And if I lower the volume of the sound effects, they will no longer be there, as you can see from here from the text. This is the sound effects and music are all made in Fmod. So I had to go here to change the values of each individual VCA in Fmod. I use these functions for each specific slider. You can see how I get all the VCAs here. And then each slider also has the also saves the data. I do not remember where. Alright. It was checkpoint, save options. It saves us in the player store data. That's it. Yeah, from the show controls, which is actually a menu. Here. Then I also implemented all of the new UI images. I did not make them, of course, but the one that put them in Unity was me. Like especially in the controls, you can see the new image for controls, and then options. All these texts are actually images. Like the text speeds text is an image. And you also all of the tutorial prompts, like for example this dash tutorial, you can see there. I implemented there. go to the start screen, you can see a new start screen. I can do like this. And I just implemented all the new images for the buttons and the background and the title. As you can see. And then for the credits, you've already seen it, but I implemented the video and actually like fixed it so that when the video ends, buttons that will show up on screen to let you choose between going back to the title screen or just quitting out the game. As you can see here. Also, something very important is that I actually have a script for when if you want to reselect a button after you click with the mouse, because Unity, what it does if you click with the mouse is it unselects the button you were selected because it assumes that you're using the mouse. So here, for example, it's the scene manager. Here. So basically, on this public void detect mouse, it detects if you click something with the mouse, and it sets the mouse bold false. And then if you press any button with the controller, it will reselect the controller or keyboard. It will reselect the first button in the hierarchy. In this case, the title button. And that is also done for every single other menu in the game. So now I have to talk about the new phases for the bosses. In this case, let's start with the second boss, phase 2, which you can see it's this very big robot, and it has a completely new state manager, which is this state machine that is very similar to the others. I just had to create a new one for this boss specifically because this boss doesn't move around, so it couldn't entirely reuse the previous ones. But as you can see, it's just you just send states to the state machine. Base state. And it gets everything from this base state. Right. Enter state, update state, and this timer inside the trigger, which is actually just a coroutine. Like here. And that coroutine will just select attacks while it is in the idle state. Then this boss is also special because it technically has 2 health bars, both in its hands. So if I go here, it's hitbox. This is the actual hitbox that you can hit. It has the hand HP that when it gets hit, it sends a message to the overall HP of the boss here to subtract HP from its from the entire health bar. But then when the hand dies, it will disable the models of all these and play an explosion and enable the broken hand object and send messages. And send a message to the state machine to tell him that you've killed that specific hand. Then I also made the lasers for this boss. I did not make the visual effects for it. I just implemented them as well. But the main thing I was tasked with was the hitbox and yeah, implementation of the visual effects. The one that did the visual effects is Daron. So I also had to modify the first phase of the boss to send a message to activate the second phase when it dies. And that is it for this boss. And then let's go to the final boss, which I had to make the state machine. Well, not the state machine. I had to make all the states for the second phase, which you can probably see here. Here. All these are states for the second phase. If we go to here, she has the named attacks one, but the main one is idle, that it decides which one of these attacks to make, depending on the distance from the player and also how many attacks the boss has already made, because there are some that are just so long that the player wouldn't be able to attack during it. But they are very cool, so we put a limit on how many times she can do it. Then I also made the projectiles for this boss as well. It's mainly two new ones, which is this dummy. If you've seen in the game, she will spawn this dummy in the scene that's made out of ice that will play an animation. Just, I mean, apparently not that one. You know, here we go. She stays like this, and then when she dies, have this die event that destroys the game object, and here she spawns ice bullets that she already had in the first phase in 8 directions. And then it has this giant blizzard move that covers the entire stage except the center. Yeah, I made this, added. I did not make the models for the icicles. Those were already made for the first phase. But I had to add them in for this attack. I also, for the 2 bosses that I just talked about, had to put every hitbox to make sure it worked. But that's kind of a given. Then, aside for this, I heavily helped with the implementation of both audio and visual effects. Audio, it was for the second and third boss, because I knew how things were called, so that, for example, the hitbox got active and which attacks were which. So that was very good for our audio engineer. And then for the visual effects, it was exclusively for the third boss, second phase, because again I knew which attacks were which. For example, this ice wall, I helped put the fog here and decide how the fog should look. Or like for this flash freeze, I helped with putting the light. I was not the person that mainly did this. I just helped guide them to put them where they should put them to put them. But that took a while. Then in the main level, I made sure the lights and shadows finally worked, because for some reason the person who made the level didn't put cast shadows on the lights. So I had to figure out that he didn't put. He had this. He had them like this. But also, and more importantly, for point lights or spotlights, I don't remember right now, we didn't have the universal render pipeline set up so that it would cast shadows for this kinds of lights. It only did it for like the main directional light. So I had to fix that as well. And finally, I did some just general bug fixing. They were mainly done on the player, because you may remember that the player, if you press the attack button once, she would get stuck in it for a while. It was a problem with the code in the player controller here. Specifically, what's that? Here, that started a coroutine to finish the animation, to just set the attack 1 to false, because it would, if I didn't set it to false, it would never be set to false. But the coroutine was set to a time of 0.7 seconds, and 0.7 seconds is a lot of time, and we've reduced it to 0.2 seconds. And then I also fixed one of the main bugs, was that while implementing the new parts of the save file, like the text speed and music, the level broke, so I had to fix that. And finally, for the main bugs, the time manager is a huge script. Sometimes just decided to not do some of these for each, and I found out that it was because some of the objects inside the array for these for each loops were null. So I just told them, if this object inside the array is null, just ignore it. But if it's not, do what I tell you to do. In this case, stop the shooting enemy. And yeah, I also set up the level as a whole so that you would be able to play it. For example, I put colliders on this room on the outside because they weren't there, and put these two bridges, that one and this one, to make it more clear where you had to go. because some players didn't know that you had to go this way or that you could walk on top of the car. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that is pretty much it. Thank you for watching. I hope this video isn't that long. Goodbye.